Good evening. Tonight we're going to talk about the basics of water canning, what you can and cannot safely water can, and I also have a side gig information for you which will be at the end of the video. So if you are familiar with water canning but not about the side gig, go ahead and scroll on down to the back. I am going to be having notes, so you will be seeing me reference these every now and then. I've been water canning for so long that I sometimes need reminders when I'm just sitting here talking about it and not physically doing it. If you are brand new to canning, again, water canning is the perfect place to start. Both water canning as well as pressure canning have limitations. The safe way to can is just use tested recipes, and there are a gazillion of them out there. Water canning and pressure canning both follow a same type of science with temperatures. They both can kill botulism toxins. Botulism toxins die at 185 degrees. At sea level, water boils at 212 degrees. If you're above sea level, like Colorado, it boils at 201 degrees. So if you are at higher elevations, you need to double check your recipes because the majority of them are written specifically for sea level. You can Google and find charts, find your elevation, and then you will get your time for cooking the recipe. While botulism toxins die at 185 degrees, the botulism spore, which is actually heat resistant, it covers itself in a membrane. So in regular boiling water, it's not being killed. It's just been knocked into hibernation for a little while. And it's going to wait until conditions are right. That membrane's going away, and it's going to restart producing botulism toxins. You need to look at three things when you're canning, and we'll start with water canning: acidity, temperature, and time. This is why we don't cook low acid or can low acid foods with water canning. It's one of those things where pressure cookers get up to about 240, 250 degrees. They can kill the botulism spore. They have enough heat to do so. Water canning can't. Increasing the time of water canning will not be able to safely water can meat. You cannot water can meat. I have seen a lot of people out there that are like, oh, I've water canned meat and I just do it for hours and hours and hours. In other words, they're thinking low and slow. Low and slow will cook meat, but it will not kill the botulism spore. A lot of those people are playing a very dangerous game. It's kind of like those cartoons where you have the cartoon character up in the tree limb, and he's sawing the tree limb between himself and the trunk. Everything is great, going wonderful until that last cut. Water canning jams, jellies, high acidity fruits, and pickling are what you can do with water canning. Also, various kinds of sauces, like I make a sweet and sour sauce. Sweet and sour sauce is almost primarily vinegar and sugar. So the acidity there is plenty to make sure that it will not become an issue because of botulism. You can't use vinegar or drop the acidity when you're pressure canning because the meat gets sour. The acids literally penetrate the meat, and it's not very tasty. So, yes, I am looking at my notes. Oh, other things that you absolutely cannot pressure or water can besides meat. No milk products whatsoever. You can't even pressure can milk products. No milk products. That includes milk, cheese, cottage cheese, anything that has milk in it. If you want to make something later, you can add milk if it requires milk, but like a cream soup or something that you pressure canned, but in water canning, no. No, absolutely not. Vegetables are low in acids. There's only one exception to that, and that is the tomato. Okay, tomatoes are a vegetable that you can water can without pickling, but you do need to add an acid to the mix. Usually it's going to be a powdered citric acid where you use less of it, or lemon juice, which is perfectly fine, but you have to add more of it. Depending on how much you add to each jar, depends on the jar size, so make sure you check that. When you're water canning, you have to check the lids. Back in the olden days, you had to put wax on the lids, put them on the jar, and all that wonderful harass stuff that made it a mess, and just, no. It was a pain. Nowadays, the wax is actually made with the lid, so you don't have to worry about putting wax on a lid. One of the safety things about lids, when you store your water canned items, make sure the rings are off. I usually put like a little piece of cloth over it and tie it down just to keep the dust off of it, but when I pull it out and I remove that, the first thing I do is check, is the lid still sealed? You press down on the top, make sure that that seal that happened when you water canned it is still tight. The lid doesn't pop back up when you press on the top of it. The lid is tight. You can't just finger pop it off. Mine, I always have to use a bottle opener to pop that lid off. You're going to need to check for spoilage. Does it look wrong? Is there something fuzzy growing in there that shouldn't be? When you open it, has it gotten so bad that it has its own sentient language, and like a little blue alien that we've all been watching on the movies lately starts cursing you out? At that point, call the intergalactic headquarters and tell them you've got a brand new species. Throw out the food. If there is any question on the seal of the jar, toss it. Don't taste it. If you have had a botulism outbreak, it's not going to be good if you taste it. You're introducing it into your system along with the spores. Don't taste it. Just toss it. Do not store your jars one on top of the other. Yeah, the shelf may be strong enough to hold that, but you are putting the top of your jars at risk for becoming unsealed with the added pressure on top of them. Don't store your jars with the rings on them. Rings rust, and they can end up attaching to the seal, and when you go to take the ring off, you've accidentally unpopped the seal and you don't know, was the seal popped prior? Or was it because I turned the ring? Rings are stored, taken off, put off to the side. One level of jars. I know, when you want to transport them, it can be a problem to just get the flats and transport them in the flats. Do not pile jars on top of each other transporting if you're going to a fair. If you're not sure about the item that you want to water can, there is a really awesome website that you can look up. It's nchfp.uga.edu. It has a little search bar. You can type in the food item that you're canning, and it'll tell you exactly how you can can it, if it requires water canner or pressure canner. It is a wonderful tool out there for you. Here are things that you need when you're water canning. What you're going to need going left to right: a pot to warm up your jar lids, a pot to cook in, your hot pad mitts to be able to grab the jars and move and manipulate. You need pads to put the hot pots on, liquid measuring cups, which are the glass ones, dry measuring cups, a water canner with a rack, the metal funnel to put the food in, ladles, jars. I use a shot glass to put the vinegar in, measuring spoons, whisk. The gray thing is a headspace measurer, and below that is the magnetic lid grabber. And then we need a jar lifter / grabber. Okay, your jars, first off, need to be washed, dried really well, and then you're going to have to sterilize them, in which case you will put them in your water canner. Make sure you have 1/4 inch of water below them. Your rack is 1/4 inch above the bottom and 1 inch above the top. This way you have enough water, the jars aren't going to crack or break, and you boil them for 10 minutes. You're going to see me do a lot of hot canning with the water canner. Water canning is a lot quicker than pressure canning, so you're going to see on some videos where the canner was done sterilizing before I was ready to put the food in. Yes, I'll still have it boiling, but I'll turn it down a little bit so I don't evaporate all the water in the canner. Then when I'm ready to get the jars out, I'll bring the hot food over to the counter and then the jars over to the counter. Make sure that you have a towel down on your counter. Hot jars and cold surfaces don't mix, they'll shatter. So have a towel down between them. Never mix putting a hot jar or a cold jar with hot food or cold food. With water canning, it's hot jar, hot food. I've had a lot of people tell me that they don't water can because the pot, which is huge, depending on what you're doing, are you doing multiple jars at one time, or is it big and tall because you're doing quart jars? Obviously, no matter what the jar, you got to have at least 1 inch of water above the jar. And if you only have half an inch or 1 inch of water space between the water and the top of the pot, you're going to want to consider getting a taller pot, mainly because you don't want it to overboil onto your stove. Okay, let's talk about cottage food. Cottage food laws are foods that are low risk: jams, jellies, baked goods, and some candies. Cottage food laws vary a lot by state to state. Some require you have a business license because they're taxing you on what you bring in. Some have a cap on how much you can make selling cottage food, like in Louisiana. It's $30,000. Where other states don't have a cap. Some foods, or I should say some cottage laws, will allow you to make some candies but not others. It's just varies greatly, so look up the law. As soon as you got it down, labeling differences too, it's really interesting. Once you know your cottage food law, what you need to do next is go to farmers markets, craft fairs, those type of things. Find the people that are selling these items. See what they're pricing them at. You need to decide, is it worth doing all this work for what you're getting back on return? Because you're going to have to take out food cost items, your ingredients, the jars, the lids, the rings, that kind of thing. And I usually, if I sell stuff, I give them the ring separately for that jar. Because when they open it, it's going to have to be refrigerated. They're going to need that ring to seal the jar in the fridge. So see what the costs are. One of the ways you can cut costs, it's not really advised to reuse lids. I have tried it, and a lot of times the lid will fail. It'll either fail at the initial canning method or it will fail after a week of storage. And you lose all that money, all that time, all that work because at that point you got to throw it out. If you have a jar fail initially with water canning, you can attempt to redo it. And if it fails the second time, just put it in the fridge. Eat it within 3 days. The nice thing about cottage food laws is you do not require a commercial kitchen whatsoever. You can do it in your own home kitchen, which is really nice. Making jellies is very easy, and it's fairly cheap. So you can get a good return on those. Another way to cut costs, or how you should cut costs, is the jars. Go to places like garage sales, secondhand shops, resale shops, that kind of thing. Find canning jars, not the jelly jars from the store. Way back when, jelly jars used to be pretty thick, and you could possibly use them then. But now they're thin. They're too thin. They can't withstand what you're doing with them. Get an honest to God canning jar. A lot of people talk about the Ball canning jars. The Ball is the brand name. When you find them, look them over real good. Are they chipped? Are they cracked? If they are, leave them behind. You're not going to be able to use them. They will break on you. If they're cloudy, it's usually because the area the jars were used, the water was harder. And to prevent cloudiness on your jars, you just put a couple tablespoons, of vinegar in the water, and that'll prevent the cloudiness. So wash it down really well with vinegar, then with soap and water, and you will notice that the cloudiness will disappear. So now that we've briefly covered water canning, go ahead, jump over to a water canning video, watch what I'm doing, and I'll explain what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So, are you ready? Let's get to it.